Please don't watch it alone. Like, share, and subscribe only if you dare to listen this type of stories regularly. In 1986, the Tallman family moved into a quiet, small town in Wisconsin, hoping to start fresh. They were an ordinary family: Alan, his wife Debbie, and their 2 young children, a son and a daughter. They bought a second-hand bunk bed for the kids, thinking it would be a fun addition to their new home. But what they didn't know was that this bunk bed would bring terror into their lives. From the moment the bunk bed was brought into the house, strange things began to happen. It started small: doors creaking open on their own, odd noises in the night, and cold drafts in rooms with no windows open. The family brushed it off, thinking it was just the quirks of an old house. But soon, the events became impossible to ignore. One night, after putting the kids to bed, Alan and Debbie were sitting in the living room when they heard what sounded like footsteps coming from the children's room. Thinking one of the kids had gotten out of bed, Alan went to check. But when he opened the door, both children were sound asleep, tucked tightly under their blankets. Confused, he turned off the light and went back downstairs. A few nights later, their daughter began waking up in the middle of the night, screaming about a witch standing at the foot of her bed. She described the witch as having long, scraggly hair, glowing red eyes, and a terrifying crooked smile. Her parents tried to calm her down, telling her it was just a bad dream. The little girl was adamant the witch was real. Then, their son started seeing things too. He spoke of a shadowy figure that would loom over him at night, whispering his name in a voice that chilled him to the bone. Figure, he said, came from the bunk bed. The situation escalated when Alan began experiencing things himself. One night, while alone in the basement, he heard a voice calling his name. The voice was low and guttural, coming from nowhere and everywhere at once. Felt a presence, something cold and evil, pressing down on him. Alan ran upstairs, shaken, but still trying to rationalize what had happened. But the final straw came one night when Alan was woken by the sound of what seemed like a roaring fire in the garage. He rushed out of bed, grabbed a fire extinguisher, and flung open the door to the garage, only to find it completely untouched. There was no fire, no smoke, nothing. The heat was intense, and the smell of burning wood filled the air. It was then that he realized something was seriously wrong. Terrified and desperate, the Tallman family reached out to their pastor, who agreed to come to the house. The pastor walked through the rooms, praying and trying to cleanse the home. But as soon as he entered the children's room, he stopped dead in his tracks. There was something evil in that room, he said, something tied to the bunk bed. Convinced that the bed was the source of their torment, Alan and Debbie decided to get rid of it. They took it apart and threw it in a landfill, miles away from their home. After that, the strange occurrences stopped. The family finally felt a sense of peace return to their home. Years later, the story of the haunted bunk bed became one of the most well-known haunted object cases in America. Paranormal investigators who studied the case believed that the bed had been cursed or somehow became a conduit for evil spirits. The Tallman family, however, never spoke of it again. They moved away from that house and tried to forget the nightmare they had lived through. But those who knew the story never forgot. The tale of the haunted bunk bed is still told to this day, a chilling reminder that sometimes evil can come from the most unexpected places, like a simple piece of furniture.